Happy Monday, everybody. Max here, and on today's Fix of Gaming News, reports are claiming that some major Xbox exclusives may still make their way to PS5 yet. Final Fantasy XIV's Xbox version will require not one, but two paid subscriptions to play, and Naughty Dog's Neil Druckmann seems to have an idea for The Last of Us Part 3. Let's get into it. Following Xbox's acquisition of ZeniMax Media, it seemed safe to assume that all Bethesda-published games moving forward would be exclusive to Xbox and PC, but that may not be the case. Allegedly, PS5 versions of Starfield and Indiana Jones and the Great Circle are under consideration. Reported by The Verge, an anonymous source with knowledge of Microsoft's inner workings claims the company is, quote, weighing up which titles will remain exclusive and others that will appear on Switch or PS5 in the future. Assuming this information is accurate and plans don't change sometime between now and then, one of the first big titles to get this treatment would be Indiana Jones and the Great Circle, Machine Games' upcoming first-person adventure about the iconic college professor in a fedora who punches Nazis in the face. The source claims this is slated to hit Xbox and PC in December 2024 and would arrive on PS5 after a, quote, rather short period of time later, which could be as little as a few months. Meanwhile, another outlet reported something similar. According to Xbox Era, Bethesda's open-world StarPG and Potato Physics Simulator may get the same treatment, with a PS5 version arriving after the upcoming Shattered Space expansion drops sometime later this year. Ironically, this sounds a little bit like how Bethesda's last few games prior to the Xbox buyout were handled. Deathloop and Ghostwire Tokyo both launched on PS5 as timed console exclusives before coming to Xbox after a little while. This isn't the first we've heard of first-party Xbox games coming to other platforms either. There have been some rumblings about Hi-Fi Rush and Sea of Thieves coming to competing consoles. We'll keep you posted on this story as it develops. Moving on, one former PlayStation console exclusive that's coming to Xbox later this year is the massively popular Final Fantasy XIV Online. But there's a catch: it will require a Game Pass subscription to play. For context, FF14 requires a subscription to begin with, which is $15 a month if you subscribe 30 days at a time, and slightly cheaper if you shell out for a few months in advance. That's a bit of a tough pill to swallow, considering how many MMOs have gone free to play since FF14 launched. Luckily, there are no additional fees to play FF14 Online on PC, and unlike a lot of other multiplayer games, a PlayStation Plus subscription isn't required of PlayStation players. Sadly, the same cannot be said of Xbox. This bad news came sugar-coated in a post on the game's official blog, which gave some details on the upcoming open beta. The post reads, quote, the free trial version, including the open beta test, will not require an Xbox Game Pass, Core or Ultimate, plan to play. However, the full Xbox Series X and S version will require an Xbox Game Pass, Core or Ultimate, plan to play, end quote. This is somewhat offset by the fact that the free trial is pretty hefty, allowing for unlimited playtime until players reach level 70, but if you're hooked at that point, you basically gotta start paying rent and utilities. The open beta for FF14 on Xbox Series kicks off February 21st at 12 midnight Pacific, 3 a.m. Eastern, and 8 a.m. UK, so set your alarms. And finally, shifting gears to something that is probably definitely never coming to Xbox, Naughty Dog's Neil Druckmann hinted at what could be in store for The Last of Us Part 3 if such a thing happens. Bear in mind, a third game in the beloved series hasn't been officially announced, though there have been some rumblings about it, which isn't that surprising considering how popular the first two entries are. At the tail end of the recently released documentary Grounded 2, Making The Last of Us Part 2, Druckmann pontificated on the overarching narrative of the series so far. He said, quote, the first game had such a clean concept of like the unconditional love a parent feels for their child. The second one, once we landed on this idea of the pursuit of justice at any cost, justice for the ones you love, we felt like there's a clean concept here and there's a through line from the first game about love. If we never get to do it again, this is a fine ending point. Last bite of the apple, the story's done. Druckmann went on to explain that earlier reports that the studio had outlined a third game were inaccurate and that some ideas had been kicked around, but they'd been backburnered to focus on other priorities. However, the kernel of an idea was a story centered around Joel's brother Tommy following the events of the second game. Druckmann elaborates, quote, I don't have a story, but I do have that concept that to me is as exciting as one, as exciting as two, is its own thing, and yet has this through line for all three, so it does feel like there's probably one more chapter to the story. Obviously, if The Last of Us Part 3 gets officially formally announced anytime soon, we will totally let you know, but in the meantime, my guess is that Druckmann is probably pretty focused on the second season of the HBO series, which starts shooting next week. If you want an in-depth look back and a look ahead at how these games get made, go check out Grounded 2 on Naughty Dog's official YouTube channel. That is your fix for Monday, February 5th. As always, if you like stuff about games, you're already in the right place, IGN. If you are a Final Fantasy fan in particular, don't forget to join us tomorrow at 3:30 p.m. Pacific time for a Sony State of Play focused entirely on FF7 Rebirth, plus our live reactions immediately afterward. I will see you then. Have a good one, everybody.